The farmhouse is silent and empty. The barn is still gone, so is the cave. A few horses graze in the empty field. Man. 65 going southwest. Take a right past the observatory. Should I explore a bit though? Kind of feel a little bad, like we're endangering our dude. Like, what's up with the horse? Oh, Eckes Oils. Joseph has fallen asleep in his chair. We could do like a quick and loose search to see if anything pops up. It's a huge area to try to explore aimlessly. You know, I don't think you're meant to find everything. A line of cars extends down the road in a late night traffic jam. Conway and Shannon can faintly see and hear some construction on the road ahead. Walk ahead? Most of the drivers are in line are reading magazines or lightly dozing. Try to start up a conversation. Conway taps on a window, trying to get an older woman's attention. She snaps awake suddenly but ignores him, focusing on a point just ahead on the highway. Why'd you go for somebody who is sleeping? Go for somebody who's reading, at least. Rude. The road ends abruptly. A small crew of highway maintenance workers have been laying down a 10-foot stretch of road. They complete their project and step out of the way, as traffic briefly resumes. The cars stop again, and the maintenance workers begin on the next section. Everyone in traffic is waiting for the road to be built at all. That's insane. That doesn't go anywhere. It's like playing Factorio and you're like sitting there laying the track down directly in front of all of the resources as you go. The lower depths. Party almost worries, like, am I even truly above the ground now? Or is this more below surface nonsense? Been a while, eh? I guess you never saw the inside of one of these places. You might enjoy the jukeboxes. I like that he talks to Blue. Strange. Sounds like music coming from inside, but the sign says closed. Maybe they're cleaning. Yeah, just sounds... I don't know. This place kind of creeps me out. It's okay, I'll just get a Coke on the road somewhere. They're done with this place. The trash bin is filled. Several pairs of working shoes, a few hats, a small Ziploc bag with 3 pairs of eyeglasses. Glasses in a Ziploc bag. Look at the creepy spike wall. That meant to be the forest, perhaps? I took this to be the clouds, but maybe that is like the line of trees, the forest. I guess we're not going inside. Is that the bar from the interstitial? Or the interlude that happens after this chapter? Where there's going to be a reckoning? The wind howls around the mine entrance. Shannon is anxious to leave. It seemed to be suggested that her parents died there. Drowned when the place flooded. The miners. I don't think she wants to be there ever again. I don't know if she knew going in. May have learned something new and distressing along the way. Oh, that's nice. I came out here on a date once. Oh. Huh. Good memories? Not really. Oh well. Next time you can say, I came out here once driving around with an old friend. Maybe that'll be better. Old friend. Is that where we are? Something coming? What the fuck? You guys see that? Shannon? Well, that was kind of a big deal. I just heard a rumbling and a zoom and I'm like, what are we building towards? Should I be worried? Should I be running away from the sound? Whoa. The stars slowly rotate across the sky. If you just stare at one of them, you can see that they're slowly inching forward. It's not a detail you'd expect them to include, but it also looks like they're stretched across like a rolling pin. Like the sky works the way that like an Animal Crossing planet works. Can I not react to that at all? Dude, there's a plume of smoke coming out of it. To get back on the road. Can I find that? Where was that? I have no idea what kind of distance that might have been from. There's no indication of a meteor on the map. Indicate where like the strike happened. I don't know. Crater. Wow. Well, I never heard of a bird so heavy or hot as that. No, I don't think you're right about that one. You haven't heard of much. I knew that already. I can tell you right now. You don't tell him a thing. If it was a bird, how'd it burn up like that? My father-in-law. They're arguing about whether or not it was a bird. It's a meteor, you lunatics. Oh, William. That old man must seen a flyer saucer every night. And 2 on the weekend. I never... Now, didn't I say that earlier about flying saucers? You heard me. You know, just a week ago up by the lake. There was a straight up meteor strike. That'd be a hell of a visual to see on the horizon coming in. Shit myself a little bit, probably. That fear of like, oh god, is this the end? How big does a meteor have to be before we're fucked? Because I don't really know if I can eyeball that. Not one of you know a thing about weird lights in the sky, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. About 9 months back, I was out sorting cans and bottles and I saw 3 flashes that took up half the sky. They flashed in order, a few seconds apart. Red, green, blue. Then about a few months later, I was fixing my lawnmower and I saw them again, but faster. Red, green, blue. Now just a week ago, I was microwaving some steam in the bag broccoli and I looked up and they're out the window, red, green, blue. So don't tell me about burning birds, lights in the sky, flying saucers. I know already. Red, green, blue, faster and faster. What would that be? Well, that's all very interesting, but my cousin works for a TV station, and he says that they drop about 2-3 satellites a week. They just fall out of the sky. More like government satellite. Yes, that's the implication, sir. All I know is it wasn't a bird. That's all I knew. That's all I care to know. Let's go check the scanner. They have a scanner? Are they normally chasing stuff like this? Is this like a fucking, like, red letter day for them? Like, finally, confirmation, see? They do exist. Remember when we were on, like, a phone tree? Moment to moment, I have no idea what's gonna happen. That's they're crazy. Giving you this giant map and hiding so many strange deep secrets everywhere. You could so easily just miss everything by just, you know, actually going where you're supposed to go. And I wouldn't even blame you that much. Like, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? A dirt road runs into the forest. The path is worn by large tire tracks. A sign is posted, but the lettering has been smudged away by rain. It might say something about a grove or a stockyard. Let's drive down it. The truck's headlights briefly glimmer on unknown surfaces between the trees. Ahead, the path winds to the right. They get out of the truck and walk into the woods. Conway and Shannon push aside collapsed branches and spider webs. The material of the forest gives way to rusty, painted metal. Dozens of corroded pickup trucks, some broken into pieces by years of seasonal heating and cooling, clog the forest floor. Just a dumping ground for vehicles? Or automobiles? Dr. Truman's house? What's this, though? Oh, is that the observatory? Turn right at the observatory, I guess. There's like a bunch of strange symbols sparking up around it. I was gonna say get more audio, but I don't think that's the observatory. I think that's just the road. It's just kind of a neat detail that it seems that the interstate plays like freeway noises, because that's where you're suddenly encountering life. I think that was a decent bit of coverage. I do feel like you're not necessarily meant to find absolutely everything just because this area is so huge and has so many, like, weird paths that there's no efficient way to explore. You definitely get curious. The neighborhood at the address on Lula's card has been demolished. In its place is a large museum, still partially under construction. The museum. Is that what I did the reclaiming thing of? No, they were reclaiming a hospital as a car dealership, not a museum. It's not the same thing exactly. The Museum of Dwellings. Whoop. Why is there an umbrella? What? Are we being talked about by the museum staff? Oh yeah, he was talking to his dog. Guy was a weirdo. Doesn't seem that weird. You didn't see the guy. Tall, kinda stooped over, limping bad. Looked like an old drunk if you ask me. I bet they were both drunks, breaking in here looking for a place to sleep it off. I just felt bad for that old dog, getting dragged all over by a couple of drunks. Old dog like that should be sleeping on a porch somewhere, but that's loyalty for you. Well, they didn't stay long. So we've been witnessed. Somebody sees we're here. I heard the man and the lady talking when they first came in, but they didn't see me. What were you doing up that late? Mom lets me stay up late all the time. She says it's okay. I was just looking for frogs. What were the man and lady talking about? The man said his leg was hurting him. They were looking for Dr. Truman, but he was already gone. But they didn't know, so they kept looking around. Is there an investigation about our presence here? Is something bad gonna happen? I'm worried. I just assumed they were from the power company. You know how they're always coming by unannounced, messing with this or that. I just shut myself up in my room to wait it out. No sense getting involved. They definitely weren't from the power company. Well, I wouldn't complain if they were, really. What with that storm going on. I know they had to do their business, doesn't affect me. I've got my generator, but you know some of these folks around here, unprepared. Totally unprepared. What the fuck? What does the umbrella do? Sup? Have I had an umbrella this whole time? When did the umbrella suddenly become a thing that comes up? That's so eerie. How many situations? Wait, can I walk up this? Oh, that's just light. Oh, that's the front door. That's the light pouring in. I thought it was like a ramp or something. The visuals in this game are so creative. That's so bizarre, because this feels like a completely lonely, isolated scenario. In a game full of lonely, isolated scenarios with nobody around. But there's like apparently at least 3 witnesses to our presence here. Just to make us wonder what the hell's going on here. Can I go up here? Whoa. It's a museum full of trailers? It won't let me go up there. Do I have to get rid of the umbrella? Is that the trick? Weird, it's like an open-ass door, but I can't go in. I guess they must have gone through some papers here. It was in some disarray, and a few folders were pulled out and left on the table. I mean, it wasn't too bad. I only noticed because Diana is such a stickler. She's real organized, I mean. What folders were they looking at? Yeah, mostly stuff about the building site, I guess. They had a list of all the homes we relocated here. A list of original residences before we leveled the neighborhood. I guess they were looking for one of the old residents. They pulled out a list of the folks who didn't take the offer. Folks who moved elsewhere. But they filed that back. Out of order, so I guess they didn't find what they were looking for there. Hey, Well, I have you here. Work's kind of slowed down. It seems like... I know you folks just... No, I know you folks know what you're doing, but it seems like the residents are just kind of, settling in. We'll get you boys back to work soon. Yeah, sure, I get you. Haha. You happen to get that last invoice? So these are a bunch of people that lived in town or something, and something happened to their houses? They're workers. They've all been relocated to the inside of a giant museum that seems to be out of use. Oh yeah, the demolished neighborhood we heard about, I guess. Like a bunch of people are witnessing us being here, but none of them are coming out to talk to us or reacting, so we don't even really know we're intruding. Wait, each of these has a little museum thing. Like this is a museum display. But we're the ones being observed. Like, at first I talked to my dog and it still did this too, so it's not, these aren't playing, these don't seem to be like audio recordings that are playing back some sort of weird art piece. Like, when I talked to my dog, this happened too. But I'm still navigating the space like it's a museum. But when it specifically seems to not be a museum anymore, it's bizarre. They were hollering at that empty temp you folks will have on display. Ha! If you ever need anyone to stay in there, I've been in worse positions. I mean, we're just trying to find if anyone's here, buddy. What an incredibly alien space. This is so strange. Yeah, they came by and knocked on the window. We had a bit of a talk through the glass. I would have come out, but, you know, shady characters. Oh, they talked through the glass, so we actually met them. What did you talk about? They were asking about Dr. Truman. I told them all I know about that, which is not very much. What do you know about Dr. Truman? I told them he moved in here with the rest of us when you folks bought up the neighborhood. Then one day his house was gone. That's all I know about that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Somebody bought up the neighborhood and demolished it. Like they wanted to rebuild the area or something, do some development, and they just straight up relocated everyone out of the houses. Supposedly temporarily, but who knows? I heard them begging around out there, and I just stayed quiet. I don't know what they wanted. I just put my headphones on and tried to ignore them. Tell them, to tell you the truth. They ignored me. I don't think I can go over here to this trailer. I don't get it. It only shows up over here when I click. What is this place? This place is full of life. Almost all these places have somebody in them. The people here weren't home, I think, so they kind of described things as if I was... Oh, there's a person here. They kind of described things like I was a burglar coming in. They're talking about, like, the aftermath of us going through, but we just kind of went through their papers, trying to figure out, like, what's going on. You do know. At first I thought it might be Hudson walking up to visit. I'd heard him working on his boat just a bit earlier, before the storm started. But then I saw the stranger's limping gait, the young woman with him, and I knew it couldn't be. I invited them in for a glass of bourbon, which they politely declined, so I just talked to them on the porch for a bit. What was the young woman like? She was very sharp and mechanically minded. We talked a bit about the construction of my house. She was worried for a friend. Do you know, I don't believe either of them ever set foot in a houseboat before. I don't know that the older man had ever seen an ocean, in fact. Oh, they're walking into each other all weird. I just noticed that. That's not supposed to be going that way, I don't think. It has always been my fondest dream to retire on a houseboat. That's why I accepted your offer and moved in here. It isn't perfect, but what home ever is? I only wish this house would sway a bit. I find that it settles my nerves. Well, if we have another storm like that one. I can't actually go up and talk to her. I can only talk about talking to her from a different perspective. The museum staff is apparently very curious about the fact that somebody wandered in here, making a point to interview everyone who came in contact with us or even noticed we were here or had any kind of aftermath. I'm worried something bad happened and like we're not here to tell the story. Okay, now we're just seeing people around. I'm avoiding the lift because I feel like that's like the end point. It's just standing there staring at me. Sure, I talked to them for a bit. Actually, we talked for quite a while. I wasn't busy. I was happy for the company. Can't sleep in a storm like that. Never could. What'd you talk about? I had a bottle in my coat. I could see the old guy looking at it. His leg was hurt pretty bad, so I offered him some. He got real awkward about it. I bet he's in a program. Anyway, they were asking about Dr. Truman. I remember him. He was here for a bit, and then he left. That's what I told him. So my character's an alcoholic. Trying to avoid this stuff. They mentioned not wanting to go in that bar. I think you need to get some real horses in the stable. Did the strangers go in the stable? No, they just poked around a bit. Talked about barns. They were pretty boring. Doggy. That dog was nearly as bad shape as the old man. Just sort of shrugging along. They found some treats in the doghouse exhibit. That seemed to cheer them up a bit. Wait, they are exhibits? But people live here? Is this a bunch of like exhibits about like southern living situations and construction and buildings? And then they had real life people go move into the exhibits? Because they needed shelter? It's like, yeah, they're like stables and farmhouses. This is a really strange environment. The moment I now recall most clearly from their short visit was the birdcage exhibit. The old man stopped to rest, or maybe to think. The young woman had been anxious up to that point, but she stopped as well, and examined the birdcage more closely. It seemed to elicit a tenderness from her. She ran one fingernail across the bars of the wire cage, marking out a tuneless scale, like a child's xylophone. Then they moved on. And Blue's actually following us around, which is unusual. Is that gonna be the little girl we keep hearing from? Yep, Flora. I was playing in that empty cabin, and they came by. They asked about Dr. Truman. I know where he went, but I didn't tell them. Where did Dr. Truman go? It's a secret. Ezra told me, and I can't tell anyone else. Who's Ezra? He's my age, doesn't really live here. He's just passing through with his brother Julian. First they're gonna help us, but I can't say any more about that. We have a lot of secrets. The lady asked me about my parents and I told them they were upstairs in the greenhouse. Do you want to hear a weird story? Of course. The old man asked me about the cabin. He said it looked like another house he knew, and he wanted to know where it came from. I told him nobody lived out here, so he went inside. He took a long time exploring. When he came back out, he told me all about it. Is it getting darker? Oh. What did he find in the cabin? He went upstairs and he also looked around the other rooms. I played with the dog. What was the dog like? Her name's Blue. I fed her some crackers. She drools a lot. Now, the part that's weird. He said he went into the basement. That cabin doesn't have a basement. He said he found a staircase in a closet. Then he found a rope leading down a long pit, and he climbed down. The walls were covered in glowing moss. He used the light of the moss to find a lake at the bottom of the pit. The water swept him around until he didn't know where he was. And finally he fell asleep in the water. He woke up on the floor of the cabin, came back outside, and we said goodbye. And I didn't talk to them anymore. Conway, are you alright? Has the route zeroed you out? I think that's a bad sign. He keeps imagining spaces that don't exist and people that don't exist, at least according to other people. Like those people that were playing some kind of game. I don't remember if it was cards or D&D or what. In the basement of the gas station. Now he's imagining entire basements that no one seems to know exists. Either space is shifting around him, or he's imagining it all together. They're both their own kind of worrying, really.